The Supreme Court just dropped a nuclear bomb on Keir Starmer's government, and what they've uncovered is absolutely explosive. While you were sleeping, while you were going about your daily life, your Prime Minister was secretly orchestrating the biggest betrayal of British democracy since the original Brexit referendum. We're talking about a covert plan to drag the United Kingdom back into the clutches of the European Union through the back door, completely bypassing Parliament, completely ignoring the will of 17.4 million Leave voters. And the evidence that just emerged in this ruling is so damning, so utterly scandalous, that it makes Watergate look like a parking ticket. The Supreme Court justices didn't just strike down Starmer's scheme, they absolutely eviscerated it, calling out the deception, the constitutional violations and the brazen attempt to overturn Brexit without anyone noticing. This isn't speculation anymore. This isn't conspiracy theory territory. This is cold, hard, legal fact delivered from the highest court in the land. And what's been revealed in the last 60 minutes will shake British politics to its very core. The documents that surfaced during this Supreme Court hearing paint a picture so disturbing that even hardened political analysts are struggling to process it. For the past 18 months, while Keir Starmer stood at the dispatch box promising to respect the Brexit referendum result, promising to make Brexit work, promising that Britain's independence was secure, his government was simultaneously running a parallel operation designed to systematically dismantle every single Brexit achievement. We're talking about secret negotiations with Brussels that bypassed normal diplomatic channels entirely. We're talking about draft treaties that would have surrendered British sovereignty over trade policy, fishing rights and border control. We're talking about binding agreements that would have locked the UK into EU regulations for decades to come. Agreements that were being crafted in complete darkness, away from parliamentary scrutiny, away from media attention, away from the British people who voted for independence. The Supreme Court obtained these documents through a whistleblower case brought by three former Brexit negotiators who couldn't stomach what they were witnessing inside Whitehall. These weren't junior civil servants, these were senior figures who had worked on the original Brexit withdrawal agreement under previous governments. And what they discovered made their blood run cold. According to the testimony that's now public record, Starmer's team established what they called a reset implementation unit in early 2024, housed within the Cabinet Office but operating with almost no oversight. This unit's sole purpose was to identify mechanisms for EU regulatory realignment that could be implemented without triggering formal treaty obligations that would require parliamentary approval. Read that again slowly. They were specifically looking for ways to rejoin the EU's orbit without having to tell Parliament or the public what they were doing. The legal framework they were attempting to exploit is genuinely diabolical in its cleverness. Instead of negotiating a single comprehensive treaty that would obviously signal a return to EU jurisdiction, they were planning to implement dozens of smaller sectoral agreements, each one individually insignificant enough to avoid scrutiny, but collectively amounting to full regulatory convergence with Brussels. The Supreme Court identified agreements covering everything from chemical standards to digital services, from food safety to financial regulation, from environmental policy to workers' rights. Each agreement would contain what the documents called mutual recognition clauses and dynamic alignment provisions. In plain English, that means whatever rules Brussels decided to implement, Britain would automatically adopt them without any vote, without any debate, without any democratic input whatsoever. The UK would become a rule taker once again, but this time without even having a seat at the table when those rules were being written. But here's where it gets absolutely infuriating. Here's where the betrayal becomes so brazen that it's almost hard to believe. The Supreme Court uncovered internal government communications showing that Starmer's advisors were fully aware this strategy was constitutionally questionable at best and potentially illegal at worst. There are emails, there are memos, there are meeting minutes where government lawyers explicitly warned that this approach might violate the principles established in the original Brexit legislation.